Greetings and welcome to another building showcase. I am Darkling and this of course is Ark Survival Evolved. Today we'll be joined by the Laughing King, otherwise known as TLK, and we'll be exploring one of my more recent builds on TheARTofKaidns streaming cluster. So stick around and hopefully you'll enjoy it. I thought I'd start today's tour up in the air so we can get a good look at the base before we have a look around inside. You'll be able to see TLK flying around in the distance there, so he'll join us once we've had a quick scout around. So the build has three hovering towers, so they are connected to the base, but they have the appearance of actually being disconnected. The main structure itself is supported by ramps up to the center part. Off to the side here we have the C-pen with a dino storage connected above it, and there's a little area along here for rafts. This server does have the leads enabled, so we had to have some structures to stop the leads from demolishing the rafts while I wasn't around. So this is a Kaidns streaming server. So he has a cluster here, so everything here is legitimately farmed. There's no cheaty sort of parts or anything like that in here. So what we'll do is we'll land at the front of the base and we'll have a run around inside and see what you like. I'm sure TLK's around here somewhere. Oh, there he is. Hello, hello.
Hello.
That is a lovely outfit you have on there.
Thank you. Made it myself.
Okay, so the front entrance, as I have with a lot of my builds, I've used the slope hatch frames. I'm quite fond of that, and that opens out into the compound. You can fit all the rexes and whatnot through there. Compound's pretty basic. Structure in the center. Underneath this is actually an open space, well, multiple open spaces. As you can see, all the corners are all tower-esque, and one of the towers has the forge in it, so we'll have a look around at that. This is probably one of... I think you've seen a few of my bases by now, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's hard to actually count how many. So we'll have a look in the main area. Lots of storage as usual.
Yeah?
You know me, the storage. Overkill.
Well, I might make a suggestion of maybe trying to revamp your storage idea in a way.
Oh,
You
yeah?
should do this for pretty much every build.
What, this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I quite like it.
Well, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, maybe if when you get bored, you can come up with a new storage idea, mix it up a little bit.
They are all variations on the same kind of theme. I'm really stoked with the hatch frame up above us. I won't admit how long it actually took me to actually place that over the hex. You can actually access it from over here. I actually put a dynamic gate in there because I got sick of the door frame, double doors making all the noise. But yeah, there's like a little landing pad, and I ended up putting some plant eggs around the top because this location down by the red obby, the damn seagulls were really,
yeah,
really frustrating.
Seagulls will do with that too.
And because this was my starter base as well, I wanted to be able to land flyers in here. So I kind of built my starter base and then expanded off that.
Yeah.
So obviously we've got crafting and storage in here. There's a few tucked away spots like the chem bench is up there.
Yeah.
On this one over
Saw
here.
that.
Yeah, we've got preserving bins tucked in there. I do have another spot with preserving bins now, but if we go down here, I got my little hatchery. And further down, I've actually got storage. So I don't know if you noticed next to the front entrance there was that hatch frame. That is the
Yeah.
little side entrance. There's actually a glass ramp here that you can't see. That was just to keep the aesthetics looking good.
Yeah.
And further around, just random storage, just a few bits and pieces. I think that actually goes... Okay, there's actually a missing wall there for some reason. Not quite sure what I've done there. I did some remodeling last time I was on, so who knows what's...
Okay.
You know what it's like, a random demo
Oh, yeah.
gunshot and it's all over.
Oh, yeah.
We won't go down here just yet, we'll go from the other side. We'll cross...
I mean, you could always just go and do no foundations required.
Oh, you know my opinion on that one. So I've got another little side entrance, and this is I put this in place for if there was anybody else on the server that wanted to drop a foundation and a bed, they could use it for quick spawn in the area. But this is pretty much the library, and that goes down into my critter storage, and I've got some vaults there for extra fertilizer, because you know what it's like with fertilizer, you end up with so much.
Oh, yeah, no, you always end up with so much fertilizer.
So, sometimes it's ridiculous. Oh, that's the
I like
glass
this table.
Yeah, it's the glass metal bench. It does.
Yeah,
it does have
I
a very-
noticed. It looks very nice.
Yeah, yeah. I've not done
You can make
anything
some
with it.
really nice aesthetics out of that. It would make a really nice counter or like a bar, minus the tools on top.
Yeah,
But,
I'm actually kind of gutted that Wildcard haven't added new tables and stuff in, because this is the best table we've got. It's this wooden job. Whereas something like
Yeah.
that would have looked cool.
yeah, I'm not sure how pleased I am to see that you have some little thieves here in the corner, though.
Oh, the
Shame on
Pegos? They
Yeah.
were for kibble.
Fair
And
enough.
they self-tame, so I generally keep the self-tame ones. Where where you're carrying
Yeah.
berries and they
Yeah, and they just get you anyway.
So I've got my beehives actually tucked away in their own little room on the server.
Yeah.
I originally
They
put...
don't kill you anymore. You know that, right?
Yeah, well, that was changed after this was built, and when I
know.
first built it, it was vanilla beehives. So you have to place those on the ground, whereas the S+ ones, obviously, you can stick them on a foundation.
Yeah.
All the stuff in here is pretty much just for like the beehives. I mean, and farming. The fridge has all the flowers in it to feed the hives. At least I say that, it's probably empty at the moment. There is a little area up here that I kind of added in, but once I started putting the dynamic gateways in, I found that they actually stick through the floor a fair bit, so it kind of ruined the effect there. The
Yeah, I
idea
noticed
was,
that right there at the top.
yeah, the idea was this was going to be like some cells. So if I need someone annoys me and I need to put them in lockup, that'd be where I did it.
Okay.
And this goes back round to that passageway I said before we weren't going to go down first, and that's all my preserving bins. I angled the end ones just to make them kind of
More
tie in a little bit
aesthetic.
better.
I'll give you the credit. They do blend quite nicely there on the corners.
Yeah, well, you know me with, like, I hate having to do the preserving stuff, so if I do it in bulk. Like,
Yep.
serious bulk. A little side room just for my bed. Nothing major there. And then we go down into the tavern. So this is the only vanity build I've got on here. Why have I got a box in the middle of the floor? That should not be there.
You're in the build.
I think I was doing mass harvesting and I was transferring stuff with the pull command.
Yeah, with the gun.
I actually use... This is the first vanity project where I actually fully use it. Like all the benches in here, when I'm doing mass harvesting, I actually fill them up with thatch and stone and whatnot. And they're my main builds, like storage. I think that one there's got hide in it.
Yeah.
But sometimes the boxes are enough, sometimes they aren't. And the actual kitchen for the tavern is literally my kitchen. So it's like I said, it's the first vanity build where I've actually used it properly. If you need food, there's some in the grill there too.
Thank you.
I'm quite pleased with this. I haven't actually... I must actually get round to putting an outfit on the gardener. It's been since I built this that they've added all the new, like, you can put skins and
The
stuff on them.
mannequin.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was playing around with it a bit. The customizing is nice, though. The getting the outfits to actually stick on it is a bit wonky.
Yeah, well, we'll get there eventually. I'm sure there'll be a few more patches for it, but I'll eventually probably turn him into a clown if I carry on. So that's pretty much the internals of this build. It's actually pretty small, especially as far as my builds go.
Yeah.
So back out into the compound, we'll have a look at one of the towers. I'll just pick the right one. So this tower here is actually just the industrial forge. That's why the towers are very specific size. But we'll go up into this one here. I think that this is the one I set up as a personal quarters. Just a small landing and up onto the connector. I'm quite pleased with the shape of this base. There's a lot of shaping going on. From this angle, you can get a really good feel for it.
Yeah.
So, there's actually a glass wall at the back here, so that's what's actually supporting the tower. So you can jump onto that sloped. Oh, I think I hit you. There's a little try there that we can jump onto, and that is the access for the tower. So critter storage at the bottom.
Blame the lag.
Hmm?
Blame the lag for why you didn't make the jump.
Ah, no, I blame you. You were in the way.
Yep, a bit wide.
Yeah, like I said, personal quarters, a nice fireplace, drums, because you know when you can't sleep at night. What is with those drumsticks? They look like
they're baguettes.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. And then up on top, I
should become a musician.
Hmm?
I should become a musician.
The top level is pretty much just a landing pad for flyers and whatnot.
Yeah, landing and looking out.
So you can get a really good look for the actual top part of the spire from here. It actually turned out really good, the snapping on it.
Oh, yeah.
I took ages, like there was a bunch of bad snaps and I went back through and I fixed them up, and I was determined to get it to actually look as clean as possible. This is probably, out of all my builds, this is actually probably the cleanest out of all the snapping. I don't think there's anything that's actually all that out of place. I would say jump off, but I don't think you've got a grapple on you, so we'll just take the long way down.
Or the health to live it.
Sorry?
Or the health to live it, or I normally would.
I've actually taken a liking to doing the sloped try for the ramps.
That's actually a very nice touch that I have not really seen, so I might actually incorporate that in my next map.
Yeah, it's a really good way to tuck a ramp out of the way. You're kind of limited when you're only using the squares. So what we'll do is we'll go up one of these other tower sides. This one isn't really a tower, this is actually the spire connection. Oh, I can actually see there is actually a slight dodgy spot with snapping there, it isn't quite as flush.
Yeah.
So if we go around to the back of it, while from the sides it looks quite solid, it's actually just a hollow passageway all the way up.
Yeah.
And what I did is the top connector, I made it out of glass. So when you're looking at it, you've got that look of it being disconnected, like it's kind of hovering there.
Yeah.
And I've got a nice claw kind of configuration at the bottom. I was quite pleased with how that came out. I was thinking of incorporating it onto some other designs. Again, nice look up at the underside. The spire itself is mostly empty on the way up. We've got access to the landing pads. I added a little dimple into each one because I don't know if you've noticed, sometimes if you hop off a mount and it spits you under it for some reason,
Yeah,
and I've
and
been
if
stuck in the
you
floor a
don't
few
have enough,
times.
yeah,
And then up from that, we end up with just an empty viewing platform. Nothing too spectacular. And then we go up into the actual hollow side of the landing pad. This is actually my greenhouse as well. It's actually a little bit... It's funny how this works. If the crop plots weren't there, we'd be able to walk through there no problem. But as soon as you add the crop plots, it's a bit too much. But that's how I incorporated my garden in this time. Kept it up on the top level.
yeah.
And the ones that don't are the ramps to get onto the very top, which turned out pretty nice. Nice and clean.
Indeed.
I'm quite pleased with the total look of it. I use the underside there. I put a lot of like pteranodons or whatnot if need be. Not that I usually have all that many pteranodons.
Yeah, I do like this centerpiece though.
Yeah,
This center right here is very nice.
yeah. It's funny. Like some builds, it's just about like there's a couple of angles that you can have at a base where it just has that supreme look about it. Just all the angles come together really nicely. Sometimes you can have an absolutely atrocious build, but one part of it is just really nice. I quite like this spot. It's silly because all it is a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
Up the top here, I even have my taming quets. I'm quite stoked with how I put this thing together. I actually hid some stuff in the well, like the cockpit area. There's a metal storage box, smithy, little refining forge. Yeah, getting onto it is a little bit more tricky. Once you know the trick, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
So we might as well head back down and check out the sea pen. Take a shortcut. Drink on the way down. For those of you that haven't seen my builds, I always have water piped everywhere. I'm not a fan of being in one part of my base and then suddenly realizing I have absolutely no water on me. It's always a pain. Out the side there you can see that I have my standard double-story taming pen with enlarged drop zone. Most people, I think, pretty much know my builds like that now.
Link in the description, something like that.
Yeah, I do actually have a tutorial for that, so I might actually do that.
It's a good idea to put on your builds whenever you have that there.
Oh yeah, I usually do. There'll also be a link in the description for Kaidns streaming on his Twitch channel, seeing as this is his server. So this was built as an afterthought, because I didn't actually plan to have too much on this server, but as I expanded I found I needed a little bit more space to put some bigger dinos, so that's pretty much the only reason I have this. And on top of it is just a big empty space in case I need to add some more quetzals or something like that in the way of storage. But it's pretty straightforward. This is about as boxy as I normally build.
You built a box, shame on you.
I know. It's funny because somebody actually said something about the fact that I thought you didn't build boxes, and I'd built my sea pen. So it's a fairly sizable sea pen, and I built it in a square because, let's face it, when it comes to sea pens, you kind of have to.
I see you're trying to drown your snake down here, and...
He doesn't have an oxygen meter.
I'm aware.
And they have to be in water to lay eggs, which is a real pain.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
No, they don't.
Yeah. Because they wouldn't...
No, they do not.
For ages, they wouldn't lay, and as soon as I put them in there, they started laying.
Because I have all my Titan Boa eggs, especially on Aberration. None of the snakes sit even close to the water.
Okay, well, maybe I'm wrong.
Dimetrodons, what you're thinking of.
I do know Dimetrons do that as well. The foundations for the sea pen, that was a nightmare, because the drop off from the cliff here is huge. So
Oh yeah, that's a nightmare.
yeah, yeah.
Ooh.
And it was easier doing foundation work down there than trying to run pillars down, because I hate pillars.
No pillars.
So a nice little interesting fact here. You might notice that I've got double door frames running all the way along the top here.
Yeah.
If you have a raft, you can actually fit the raft through one of those double door frames. So if you take your raft out, you can drive over the double door frame, and once you bring it back in, it's nicely protected from the leads. Of course, I got my taming raft. I do have a video for my taming raft as well, but this is actually a slight variation on the original design.
I noticed.
Yeah, the one on my tutorial has a little bit of insert inside the container, whereas this one I actually changed it up a bit. I'm more happy with this raft over here. We'll into it from the other side. I actually shaped the bottom of the hull so it's actually like a boat, and you can actually fit, if you take a Rex into the water or a Spino, you can actually fit it up that ramp.
Okay.
And you can actually fit quite a few Rexes and whatnot on here. It turned out quite good.
Not the turtle that's stuck underneath your raft, though.
Oh, I've always got something stuck underneath my builds. It gets a bit ridiculous at times. Little cabin in there with water, because there's not enough water around a boat.
Never.
And you might notice that there's the double door frames like halfway down. I actually stuck those there so that if you're below deck, which is actually quite a bit of space below deck at the moment, you can actually access the storage from above and below.
That's a good touch.
There's times where you need it, eh? It's a bit low in here, like your head sticking through the. You're a max height character, aren't you?
I think I'm max height, yeah.
Yeah. So
for kicks.
So this level here, it's nothing special. It was mostly just to access the
raft
utility
itself with
yeah.
some basic storage and food and way to repair gear.
Nice and straightforward. The build itself, I was just really happy with how the hull turned out. Just that nice sleek kind of look. And I tried to keep it as low a profile as possible, just to keep that nice sleek kind of style to it. I mean, I could have stuck something that looked kind of sail-like, and that would have looked kind of neat.
I was like, it's a shame you can't actually stack flags, bleach them white, and then make it just a bunch of sails.
Yeah, I suppose that would look like one way of doing it. I probably could come up with something with sloped tries and things like that, but I haven't actually got around to trying sails. It's not really my cup of tea usually. I also did some weird stuff with the corner foundations. I needed a little bit extra foundation work to support the juddy-yaddy bits.
Yeah.
So instead of actually just merging them directly with the foundations, I kind of took a little bit different approach than I normally would. On a whole, that I'm pretty happy with this build. There's a lot of shaping, there's a lot of technique.
Very smooth.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. I wanted it to be as clean as possible and have a stylish look about it. Of course, that's down to the eye of the beholder. So what we'll do now is we'll head over towards the kibble farm, community kibble farm that I've been building. I'll cut here and we'll reappear over there. Okay, so now we're at Kaidns Kibble Farm. This is a community project I was doing. We're starting off here with Kaidns' logo, which I recreated in Ark. It came out so well. It's like Ark really wanted it to exist. I was really happy with how that turned out. I basically used a trick of using square and try overlay to give just a little bit of the wall sticking out, and just give that nice little wireframe kind of look. If you haven't seen Caden's logo, there'll be a link in the description below for his Twitch, so you'll be able to see that. And in the background here is the kibble farm. Now this isn't fully populated. I started populating it and then I had problems with my connection. The ping for this server for me is actually quite high. It's about as far away in the world as you can get for me. So around the outside, just to keep it like textured, I added the ribbing effect with the lighting through it. I'm quite pleased with how that came out. It's very basic. Other than those, the outside wall would have just been just a big flat edge, and I wasn't really happy about that. From above, if we just climb up in the sky a bit, we can look down upon the farm, and you can see there's quite a bit to it. It's a very simple design, and the actual inside is mostly barn space. So around the outside of the stone donut is obviously where the flyers end up. There are some flyers down in the main ground. That's actually the ones I use for harvesting and whatnot, for carrying resources around. And all the pretty much all the structures you need are in the main central hub. We'll come down and have a land, and we'll be able to have a quick snizz around. So again, around the outside of the hub I've got my general storage. I haven't double stacked them like I do with a lot of others. I kept it quite simple. Obviously the rules of the kibble farm around this, on the signs, nothing we really need to look at this point. So what I did is I tried to keep everything possible tucked away into the central hub. So we've got beetles along one side. My troughs are hidden here in this double door frame. I was actually quite pleased how tidy that looks, so I'm going to recreate that on other builds just to hide my troughs away. Behind this one I've got the beer. Gotta hide it from TLK, you know, might drink it all. Obviously I've got my generator tucked away, my private storage, and there's one other outside piece, and that's just for logging out in. In the central part, the poor Dodo is wearing a item collector, but all the other stuff tucked away into the walls. Nice tidy, clean effect. Another one of those that I'm quite happy with. If you really put your mind to it, you can actually get these things pretty small. But I think the best part of this whole kibble farm, and the reason I actually wanted to show it off today, is actually on the roof here. Another one of those tri-ramps. You notice I actually got railings to attach to this.
Indeed.
The trick is, when you put the slope tries on the side, if you run a ceiling out and then put a wall at the back and put a ramp on, when you snap the railings, if you've got the snapping in the right heights, it will actually stay attached to the sloped try.
Okay.
Yeah, it came out quite good. But this is the thing that I'm most happy with, is my greenhouse that I've got on here. So
yeah, you're feeding for the whole thing.
Hmm?
Yeah, you're feeding for the whole thing.
Oh yeah, there's ridiculous amounts of food in here. Although that one's empty, I wonder if I've had some fertilizer problems. Would surprise me, I haven't been on as much as I was hoping to be. So yeah, they're all separated out by half walls at the back. I'll just turn the hub display back on. As you can see, they all have 300% greenhouse effect, even though they're stacked on top of each other. And instead of, there is water in the center here, this does not actually feed the crops. The crops are actually fed by the beehives in the corners. So there's heaps of honey, heaps of plants, there's plenty of preserving bins down below, so the idea is this kibble farm should be able to produce much more than the average user should be able to use. Of course all the NPCs are around the same build. So if we come down here, obviously there's the entranceway. I was kind of annoyed because I haven't been on. The fertilizer ran out on the crop plots down here. These crop
Yeah,
plots, they're actually meant to have plant X in them.
plant X.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so if anything follows you through the door, they just get annihilated.
pretty much.
Yeah, I tested it a few times. It's like, hey, come chase me. I get to about here and then just turn around and just watch it just get annihilated. So from here we've got the outer barns. Like I said, these aren't heavily populated. The industrial forge for the farm tucked away there. I have overraptors stationed all the way around. They should feed, like boost the egg production around the place once it does actually get populated finally. I built the inside of this pretty much to match the ground. Like as you can see, there's bits of ground sticking through, and some bits are raised higher than others, and that's literally just to work with what ground space I had.
Yeah.
And there's a little double door frame, sort of airlock kind of thing here for taking the harvesters out. There's actually a wood just down from here, and it doesn't actually have much in the way of berries below it, so harvesting wood, like you run through and you don't end up having to clear out all the berries out of your inventory so much.
Yep, I used to live here, so
Oh, okay, you know the story. I went with the two gates because if anything follows you, and the chance of getting through both while you're running through is pretty slim.
yeah.
All my harvesters are here. I think a good portion of my harvesters. I'm not sure what I've got left at base because I was working here mostly the last time I was on. And this is the start of populating the kibble farm. So, like I said, it's not very populated at all. Once I started having the ping issues, I was tranking things in my taming pen, and 2 out of 10 shots were actually striking the dinos, so I had to call it quits for a while.
Yeah.
But what can you do? You got to work with what you can.
Yeah.
And then if we go up into the central part here, this is the hatching grounds. I left a big empty space here with no foundations, so when you hatch stuff, it doesn't, you know, that problem when you hatch on foundations, as they grow they sink into the foundations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to have to deal with that, so hence why this is a nice big open area. These are all Kaidns hatches. They've actually been here for quite a while. I'm assuming he'll come and pick those up when next time he's on. I think he's actually got some pretty good berries there. That's their hatched level, so not
Or
too
at least
bad.
200, so
Yeah,
not
one of them
bad.
came out really nice. The Quetzals are actually eggs from a couple of mine. I managed to get a pair of twins. Not that twins aren't usually a pair. And it was a pigeon pair, so it was a male and female, so I can reliably produce 209s.
More.
Yeah. Out the back of the hatching grounds is just a little outdoor storage area. This is just so when I do eventually tame some brontosauruses and whatnot for eggs, we've got some area outside to place them, because if you're building something to actually stick a bronto in, like if I tried to stick that in the kibble farm, its head would be sticking out the top no matter where you put it. And I used the another one of my double story taming pens, slightly different looking this time, but I used that as part of the wall. As you can see, I was in the middle of actually changing the entrance here. I didn't realize I hadn't actually finished that, so I'll have to get around to sorting that out. It's really bad looking. But I don't know if you noticed the way we got out. I kind of tucked that into one of the ribs.
Yep.
So out the side here, like you would have seen, there is the taming pen, and I actually metalled the inside of this one. I don't normally, but because it's not me that's going to be using it primarily, I thought I should make sure it was Therizino proof.
Yeah. Especially since a lot of Therazinos spawn in this area.
Yeah.
If someone decided to tame here.
Well, if it's me, I'll just go ahead and repair it. I'll just use stone. I don't really mind. But I did have a problem. I tamed up a Therizino and I alt-tabbed to check something and got sidetracked, and I alt-tabbed back when I realized that I was in the middle of taming and waiting for it to tame up, and it had woken up and just decimated the door frames, and it was just about to eat me. When I alt-tabbed back, I was like, oh, I better actually make sure that doesn't happen to anybody else.
Yeah.
We
It'd
can
be
get
an
onto the
unpleasant
roof.
experience.
So what was that?
It would be an unpleasant experience.
Yeah, not ideal. Obviously, my Quetzal taming. There's a tutorial video for that as well. The tutorial is actually specifically building this one here, so if you want to reproduce that, we'll be able to link you in the description below. So what we'll do is we'll head back down, and we'll have a quick look at the upper barn, which is completely empty, but you know, we'll see how much storage this base actually has. When I say it's a barn, I mean this thing is massive. So this whole level is just one massive barn. And I
don't know. I built a pretty big box barn. This isn't a barn.
yours yours was very boxy.
This is very small compared to my box.
Your box was what, just XL walls. I think it was what, 30
nope,
by
it was
30?
full singles. I had still been new when and didn't really know all the S plus stuff and things. So I was just over the cliff over here, down in the swamp, and I pretty much ended up filling up a solid like fourth of the swamp and blocking off nearly the entire, at least one. You had to end up going up into the redwoods to get around my base because I had just blocked off that entire actual swamp land with just my giant stone box,
I think
which was
have you actually finished putting that down?
Nope, there's probably still a few walls left with a few resources that I probably said I wanted and then didn't care enough to go get.
That sounds about right. You'll notice the glass ceilings there. That was to try and use the greenhouse effect on the entranceway. It didn't quite work as well this time round. I'm not sure quite what the problem was. I have a feeling that you can only go through so many glass ceilings before you start losing the greenhouse effect.
Yeah.
I've actually used this area for grapple practice. It's not as good as Aquaticus, but I used the wrong thing.
This is child's play. This is why I use caves for my grapple practice.
It's weird, I had grapples on just before. Why am I suddenly... Oh, I lie, there is actually some dinos in here. Yeah, you can
I
see
don't think
the
it's
lag.
good to lie to your audience, and I don't think you should also hit the ground that hard either.
Ah, it's the lag. That's the problem I've been having on the server. And I pull the trigger and it just takes an extra second or two to actually fire it.
Did you know that grapple in particular can actually be used on Aberration?
Ooh. No, I did not.
I don't have it, but
So this is the fly
because I
deck.
didn't specifically want to add a whole extra mod just for that one grapple.
Because they've made it so that grapples don't attach to most things, eh?
Yeah, you can only attach it to your own tamed dinos. But that one that you're actually using, that mod on this, what is it? I think it's Reusable Grapple Plus or something like that. That one in particular can actually hook to like the walls and stuff and things, if I remember correctly. Because I used it on another Aberration server that I was on briefly.
Oh, okay.
And it actually would like latch to walls and stuff like that.
Oh, that's interesting to note. I've always thought that Aberration should have a proper grapple. I've never understood why you weren't allowed to use it.
Because Wildcard wants to make sure you use all their pretty toys they add in each server.
Yeah.
I want to think that Extinction will probably have some set rules in place, like you can't use like climbing picks or the cliff platforms that we added in last round
Oh
to
yeah,
this
that wouldn't
round,
surprise
because
me at all.
if they do, and it does look as cool as it's going to be, and it's going to be all jagged and kind of run down and elemental polluted, and we can't actually end up using certain cliff platforms or various stuff and things because of it, like how what's it called? You can't use any of the tree platforms on any of the redwoods. In all of Aberration, every single one is coded as a redwood, but not big enough to support a tree.
Oh, that's a bit of a pain.
To be fair, they're not even actually trees. You can literally go up to a lot of them, and if you climb just right in the texture of the tree, you can actually step on just whole empty spaces into the bark of the tree and just completely disappear.
Oh, okay. This is my, I think you've seen me do one of these out of stone.
Yep.
I decided to actually have a go at a metal one this time. So I do not have a tutorial for this particular one, I don't believe. This is my Quetzal carrier. You can fit 3 Rexes or 3 Spinos and whatnot. Very, very handy. It helps when...
You don't have enough S plus trank turrets on there.
I don't... Can you actually stick turrets on platforms? I thought you couldn't anymore.
As long as it's S plus, you can stick turrets and guns on platforms. Pretty sure.
Okay, I thought you couldn't put any on there.
In base, I know you can't put any turrets on there because since they try to balance their game for PVE, but mostly PvP, people would literally just stack Paraceratheriums full of any turret they could get their hands on and just walk by bases.
Oh yeah, fair enough. I hope you enjoyed the build. It was nice showing it off. It was great to have TLK join us today as well as we ran around. There's a fair bit to... You can't fit.
Fatty!
So there's quite a bit of this build that I'm sure people will find interesting. So if you have any questions, definitely leave the questions down in the comments below. If you haven't liked the video, make sure you do that. Subscribe if you haven't already, and most importantly, take care and enjoy your building.